Building a boat in Rust is one of the most essential skills you need to master. This will allow you to sail into the deep sea, quickly get a lot of loot, and have a lot of fun fighting with other players like a pirate. So, in this guide, we're gonna cover all the necessary steps when building a boat, such as what you need to do before you get started building, the safest ways of getting started, best layouts, boat components and how to balance them, and finally, I'm gonna guide you through some useful tips and tricks, so you'll be able to make a perfect boat. I guarantee that after watching this guide, you'll become a master shipwright. So, if you find this video helpful, be sure to hit that like button below and subscribe to the channel, it helps me a lot. And also, check out Rust Clash. Rust Clash is a platform in the Rust community, known for their case battles and a bunch of different game modes, where you can face off against other players in intense PvP openings. They also have a bunch of different game modes, like Tiles, Plinko, Mines, Crash and the Classic Upgrader, each with their own style and pacing. Whether you're uncovering tiles, watching the multiplier climb, or chasing a 10,000x Plinko ball, there's always action. And now, let's get back to the video. Before you start building your boat, there are a few things you'll need to do. First, you should farm at least 240 scrap to research all the necessary items on the first workbench. That includes a boat building station, a boat building plan, a steering wheel, and a sail. These are the most essential items. If you don't do this, you simply won't be able to build a boat. In the future, you will need to spend another 90 scrap to research an anchor, a plank, a small ramp, a cannonball, and a cannon on the first workbench, and 195 scrap to research an engine on the second workbench. It will surely make your boat way better, but it's not necessary, as you can sail without these items. You can do all this in the outpost, because there are several tier 1 workbenches. Second, you need to build a simple 2x1 water base and farm at least 5k wood and 300 low-grade fuel to build a small boat, as well as some tarps to craft a boat building station and sails. And here's a little trick. If you can't find any tarp, you can buy a planter box at the bandit camp and recycle it. This will give you one tarp and some wood. Also, if you're lucky enough to find a hazmat suit, you can recycle it to get 2 tarps. Now, let me explain why you need a water base. When you're building a boat, you're very exposed, especially if you're playing solo. If someone sneaks up behind you and breaks your steering wheel, you won't be able to finish building. Plus, your enemies can easily break down a wall or doorway, because each building block in edit mode only has 50 HP. So, having a water base will give you a backup plan to keep your boat safe and prevent enemies from destroying it, because you'll be able to come back really fast. With that said, the setup stage is done, so let's move on to the building itself. To build a boat, you will need to craft a boat building station, a boat building plan, a hammer, a steering wheel, and as many sails as you want, but no more than 10. You will also need about 5 to 10k wood, 300 or more low-grade fuel, as well as a bed or a sleeping bag, metal doors, boxes and other deployables. This will be more than enough to build a small boat. Next, go deeper into the ocean and place a boat building station. You need to do this as close to your base as possible, so that no one can catch you off guard. Take a boat building plan in your hands and start building. Every building block will cost you from 75 to 300 wood, and from 4 to 15 low-grade fuel. Also, if you make a mistake, you can break the building block within 15 minutes using a hammer. In the upper right corner, you can see the health, mass, power, and power to mass ratio of your boat. The more building blocks your boat has, the higher its weight and health will be, and the more power it will need to reach its maximum possible speed. For example, if you build a huge boat and equip it with only 10 sails and no engines, your boat will be extremely slow. On the other hand, if you put 6 engines on 2 foundations, you'll just be flying over the sea. Plus, the more HP your boat has, the more difficult it will be to raid or sink it. So you need to keep an eye on the power to mass ratio to ensure your boat is balanced. Also, keep in mind that the boat must be symmetrical, so that it sails straight and doesn't lose any speed. If you make it asymmetrical or place the sails or engines unevenly, you'll sail sideways and lose a lot of speed. To finish building your boat, Just hold E while looking at the steering wheel and click Finish Building. Also, don't forget to lock it, as the steering wheel is the same as ETC in your base. If you've already set sail, but need to make a change or add something to your boat, you can go back into edit mode. To do this, you must have a boat building station in your inventory, and you shouldn't be in the deep sea. And this applies not only to the biome itself, but also to the main island. You must be near the shore, otherwise you won't be able to edit the boat. If you have met all these conditions, just come to the steering wheel, hold down the E button and click Deploy and Edit. Now you can make all the changes to your boat. Also, if other players attack your boat, you can repair it by spending a little wood and fuel and using a hammer. Here are a few of the most popular boat layouts and how many resources you will need to build them. First, we have a small 2x1. This boat is perfect for solo or duo players, or for those who don't have a lot of resources. Next, we have a 2x2. This is the most default boat for small groups. It's well balanced and doesn't actually have any weak spots. And also, we have a 2x3 and a 2x4 boat. These layouts will cost you way more resources, but they will also give you a lot of protection, storage space and high maximum speed. Of course, you can build a boat of any shape and size, but these options are the most popular and simplest. By the way, if you want to practice building boats, just type boat building in the search bar and choose any server. Here you can easily learn how to build boats and even create your own boat that you will use in your next wipe. Now, let's talk about boat components and the best ways to use them. First, we have a sail. This is the cheapest and easiest source of power for your boat, costing only 100 wood and 1 tarp to craft. You can place a maximum of 10 sails on your boat, no matter what size it is. But again, the better the power to mass ratio on your boat, the faster it will go. If you want to get the most speed out of the sails, you should place them in the same direction and avoid placing them one behind the other. If you set one of the sails at even the smallest angle to the side, you lose quite a lot of speed, and your boat will drift sideways, even if you have a symmetrical layout. Also, if you place one sail in front of the other, it simply won't work. So, you need to make sure that all the sails are blue and not orange before placing them. And don't forget that you can rotate your sail to change the direction of your boat. To do this, just raise your sail, hold down the E button and rotate it. For example, this will allow you to get out of the safe zone in the floating city if you get stuck. Another source of power is engines. This is a tier 2 item, so you will need a second workbench to craft it. It costs 5 high wall, 2 gears and 50 low-grade fuel, so it's quite expensive. One engine has a power of 4 sails, and you can place a maximum of 5 engines on one boat. Also, one engine burns about 25 fuel per minute, but if you drop the anchor, the engine won't burn any fuel. And don't forget that you can switch engines to reverse speed, just like with the sails. And if you place them asymmetrically, your boat won't sail straight. Next, we have an anchor. This item will let you immediately stop the boat, even with the engines running and the sails up. Plus, thanks to the anchor, your boat won't drift off somewhere randomly, and no one can push it without your permission. However, you can do just fine without an anchor, but in that case, you will have to raise all the sails and turn off the engines yourself to stop the boat. You can place an anchor through doors, windows and even walls. If you have a limited space inside your boat, just add a triangle next to the wall and place an anchor like this. This will save you a lot of time and resources, plus it's way more convenient. Also, I highly recommend placing an anchor as close to the steering wheel as possible, so you can quickly stop the boat. As for the last 2 items, we have cannons and small ramps. To craft a cannon, you only need 100 wood and 200 metal. And it's the best way to sink other players' boats. You can rotate it in all directions if it's placed in the open area. But if you place it behind the cover, it will lose a bit of mobility. Also, you can shoot a cannon from behind the doors, so it's the best way to protect them. Cannons deal about 50 damage to players' boats, so with just 20 hits, you can deal about 1000 damage. The only downside of this item is that you can't destroy engines, sails or other deployables, because they simply don't take any damage. As for small ramps, you can use them instead of the low walls, because they're extremely cheap, offer a lot of cover, and don't affect the ship's mass. Plus, you can use them to build a boat bay to seal a small boat or trap other players inside it. To increase the protection of your boat, you should use a locker to create an airlock. If you open the door and place a locker as close to the wall and as far from the door as possible, you'll be able to move around easily. But if you leave the door open, it will be impossible to get inside your boat, because the locker will block the passage. Also, if you have the Jungle DLC, these shells will save you a lot of space inside your boat. Plus, you can use them as a jump up, or as an addition to the windows on the shooting floor. If you don't have a Jungle DLC, you can use default shelves. They will also help you save a lot of space. And if you want to know even more tips about boats and the deep sea, then the new deep sea update in Rust is way too broken. Not only can you find a free AK on any island, but you can also make your boat unraidable by adding a door stack from old Rust and making a bunker inside it.